G'day, fellas, boys and girls, children of all ages. What is up? What is good? It's your boy Joe. Here we are for another Monday night live stream. I'm here picking up the slack because Big J is in the toilet doing a number 2. So I thought we can't let you wonderful people be hanging. How's it going? Super Coach God, very good to see you here in the chat. Much love to you, my friend. If you guys haven't subbed to Super Coach God, but he is a wonderful young man. We have featured him on the channel, and I've also been on his channel as well. So on your God, keep up the good work this preseason, my friend. Skits, good to see you again. Causa, always a pleasure. Michael, how's it going, Mike? Get in. We're going to go hard. Too much information. You're right. I'm sorry, Colin. I probably shouldn't have said that. Big J is probably going to come back and slap my face. Good thing we're remote here, but I have to dox him a little bit. Dean, how's it going? Thank you so much. We're doing very well. Always happy to have you guys. Stuart, g'day. Thank you for coming on. We will be going through, of course, answering your questions to the best of our abilities, of course, and also trying to go through some of the pre-season reports, what we're picking up from the other the teams all around in the preseason report. Some are doing match sims, some are just doing some training. There were a bunch of clubs that sort of went away over the long weekend, so it might not be entirely in-depth at the moment, but I think all the clubs are back now as of today, and we'll be going through a bunch of the teams when Big J comes along. Big J team reveal from the toilet, mate. I've been on his back for a while, Skits. I've been on his back. He's going to get a team reveal out, I promise you. Big J, the Macca's drive-through again, mate. He's driving. The car streams are always a wonderful thing. No car stream tonight, God, but it can be on the way. Causa, thoughts on Jace Burgoyne on the wing or Josh Sin off halfback if it happens? Mate, if we get a halfback, I know Josh Sin was on a lot of our radars last year. We definitely were hoping that we could pick him up early on to start last season, but unfortunately it never came to pass. So Josh Sin, he was playing on the ones for Port Adelaide in the preseason. So off half-back makes him a very tantalising option. How's it going, Big J? You feeling relieved?
Mate, I am relieved. I'm happy. Let's go.
Yes, that's very good. I don't really like Cheese. Cheese, he's back. Super Coach on its way back, as are you. Cheese, good to see you, mate. How's it going? What's this? I told them I've been on your back for ages trying to get you to do a team review.
It's going to happen. Don't worry about it.
You got to do it, mate. You got to do it. You're keeping the people hanging. James Harden is hot, not as hot as you, my friend. It is going very well. Thank you very much for asking. Super Coach is back. How can we possibly not be good?
It's a really exciting thing, right? Like kind of pre-season starting. You started talking about some of the training reports and whatnot. I know we've got a bit of a big show happening today, but yeah, I just love footy and I'm happy to be here.
Exactly. Globes, what's going, my G? How's it going, Globes? Always a pleasure, my friend. Delusionalism. I love this name, Delusionalism. Try saying that very fast multiple times back to back. Giant Newcomb season? Look, I'm going to be honest. I don't see it. I'm not endorsing everyone to go ham on John Newcomb. There's no denying the guy's talent. But where are the extra points going to come from? Don't tell me he's added 5 kilos of muscle, therefore he's going to add 5 points to his average every game. I'm not sure about that. If I can, I'm open to be convinced, but I don't see where all those extra points are coming from for Jai.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. He's probably got like 8. Let's say 8 points out of natural progression, right? So he probably gets to that like 106 mark, 107. But I don't know if that's going to be enough to be a top 10 pick. It's probably going to be a bit of value. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Dean Field says Wardlaw, Sheasel, LDU, Dersma, and Fisher I'd probably say of those, Wardlaw, a big injury, keep on watch and see. I think this guy, he's been doing really well in the preseason. He's an absolute gun. No denying his talent, one of the best young inside mids in the comp. But I just don't like the recurring soft tissue injuries. Sheasel, think depends on the role and whether or not that last guy, Fisher, is a spud or not a halfback. If he's not, then Sheasel probably won't be halfback. But if he is, then there's every chance Sheasel does come back.
Yeah, it just kind of depends, right? I think there's a few other players in that North backline that are all vying for spots. A lot of people's best 22s at the moment don't have Josh Goda, don't have a Miller Bergman, don't have a few of these other players who were basically mainstays in our team last year. It's going to be an interesting one to see what happens, what Clarko's kind of got in mind, but we have brought in a few other players as actual depth. So the depth might not be fantastic, but there's real competition for best 22 spots at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, yeah, exactly. Josh Sin trained for the ones at halfback. That is very exciting. If we can get him, then we could be seeing a defensive DPP from a Port Adelaide player for 123K. That would be awesome on the bench.
I think just having more players is always better, right? These guys that have kind of crucial roles in their teams, halfback being definitely one of them for, decent enough rookies. Yeah, absolutely. It's always better for us.
You're getting Big J at the SCG. That's right. Nice
I need to change the background. I'll have to figure out a new one. But this SCG, man, they get me to come in and then they, basically commentate the games for them. So no complaints there.
Yep. He's back. He's good. He's 3 kilos lighter. Yep, he's all good. Right, Big J on the Discord wants relieving himself.
Done. You know it. Let's go.
Jeez, how many North players can possibly play halfback this year? I can't pick all of them.
It's an interesting one, right? Because I think just in general, you have to chase, you're chasing the cash, that kind of thing. These teams that, you think about it, North Melbourne have probably lost 4 of their best 22 players last year. Aaron Hall, Cunnington, Goldstein's gone, Ben McKay, that kind of thing. I think there might be another one as well. So Kane Turner's gone. And Jack Zeeble. So we've got to fill them with players. There's not a lot of experienced players ready to go in those positions. So we pick up rookies or pick up cheaper players. Therefore, those guys are going to be best 22, which means that we're probably going to end up picking them in our Supercoach teams. So kind of a bit of a flow-on effect there.
Yeah, exactly. Magnus Sherlock. I love it.
Like
yes, Trent.
I don't like the Rivers pick. I don't like the Rivers pick.
You don't like Rivers pick? Why?
I think he's too expensive from memory. Let me just quickly check.
As Legends says,
I don't think he's going to be playing like top 3 midfielder for the team, and I think he's going to get moved around a lot. So potentially he does well for us, but 474K, Joe. Like, it's a lot of money for the pick not to work.
I know it's a lot of money, but he's from memory.
474K is too much. He's not 300K and he's getting a new role. Like 400K, not even. It's almost 500K. It's a lot of money to spend on this type of player.
Yes, I know, but he's had games where he's played, and if I can recall, there have been games in the past where he has played in the midfield, gotten some good CBAs, and he's actually performed really well. I think he's probably one of those guys who could see a bit more of a move into the midfield if I don't think Angus Brayshaw is going to be taking a lot of those CBAs that Clayton Oliver will be leaving behind, because I think Angus Brayshaw, he's just one concussion away from being done for good, I would imagine. So I think for his well-being and his longevity, I think it's going to be Trent Rivers and Sparrow pinch hitting in the midfield. If it wasn't for Sparrow existing as a player, I'd be a lot more on board with the Trent Rivers selection. But I'm pretty sure Simon Goodwin has also had Sparrow run through the midfield as well. So if not for Sparrow, I reckon Rivers would be a lot more exciting of a prospect. But I'm too nervous. I want to be really sure about people's roles before I select them, especially for that price.
Yeah, I think so as well. You can probably come in there and pull up the DFS and say, hey, look, these guys played in that kind of role at certain points because they did, especially throughout the second half of the season when Melbourne's team kind of got moved around a little bit. These guys played in there. So, it's not like they haven't done it before, but I just don't think they'll be like number 1, number 2, number 3 in the mid, which means that they probably won't even be first rotation through the mid. So spending that much money on these players probably not the best.
Yeah. Skits are talking about Ollie Wines as a potential selection. I know. I'm actually gonna I will open up DFS Australia just so that we can talk about these players. Let me present the screen, then we can go through.
460k for an Ollie Wines. Like, I know the scoring's been there. I know everything's been there, but mate, you're only picking him because he probably doesn't, he doesn't miss the first 6 weeks. Potentially that's enough.
Well, not only that, what's he priced at? Right now, I think he's priced at 80, right? Yeah, so
460k.
So if he scores 100 average, he will make us 100,000. Which I think in this current landscape, $100,000 on a trade is fair.
What's Port's run early? Let's have a quick look.
Well, he's a contested footballer. So for him, if he gets the CBAs, if he gets his CBAs and plays at the coalface, I think that role that he plays is probably a lot less matchup dependent because it's see ball, get ball. Doesn't matter who he's playing against, and he won't be tagged either.
If Port Adelaide are playing easier teams, I mean, it's a lot more convincing for you to pick up him as an option versus picking like shitters. So Eagles first, and then Richmond, and then Melbourne, so probably not the best. So then they play Essendon, so they're going to dominate. Freo round 5, and then Collingwood round 6. So they probably win, let's say, 4 or 5 of those early games, considering we think West Coast, Richmond, and probably the Freo Dockers are going to be lower on the ladder. So I could see a case for him. If you don't have enough money to pay for someone else, Ollie Wines is a pick versus other guys around that mark. Could happen. But he'd need to have like the best preseason games you've seen in your life, like to even warrant it.
Yeah, I mean, it's along the similar lines though for why people might be selecting a Matt Crouch though. They want to they want to try and get a 105 average from these relatively cheap mids, that
that'd be a good comparison, Joe. Go, who scores more this year, Ollie Wines or Matt Crouch in average?
Let us know in the comments down below. What do you guys reckon about that one? Causa, what do you think of this midfield? Have had it for a while. Bont, Track, Merritt, Butters, and Brayshaw.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I think, as Joe will attest, Merritt probably, round 7 onwards, so maybe not a starter, but everyone else is fine. So if you throw in someone else instead of a Merritt, you could be onto a winner there pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want to get Merritt in. Yeah, I want to get Merritt in for sure after round 7. Because then we've got the Eagles, the Giants, they won't tag him. We've got North, got Richmond. He loves to play against Richmond. Got the Suns, they're not going to tag him either. So he's had a great run. Carlton won't tag. Eagles, he'll kill. So it's a sensational run, this patch after round 7. So I definitely want to get Zach Merritt in from round 7 onwards. So I think Merritt at this price point probably will drop a bit. You could go for anyone else. Track and Bont, I like it that you're going big with those 2 big captaincy options, and Butters seems to be a really consistent option as well. I mean, you really could go, exactly as Big J says, you could go to literally any other mid. If you want, you could even go Nick Dacos and save yourself the trouble of trading him in later.
It's definitely an option because the midfield has, 3 guys covering the bench. You could probably get away with 1 or 2 extra guys missing out during their bye round.
Yeah, true. Unbranded, how's it going? I love the brand. Being unbranded. Supercoach God, Dawson, Laird, or Track. Look, obviously Track's got the early buy, which is a little bit annoying. Plus, I think a lot of people are going to have Max Gawn in the ruck as well, so you're going to be missing 2 premiums in that week.
That's
However,
no issue.
I think Laird probably out of those three, if you have to pick only one, I think Laird's probably the safest one, given that he's got a sustained run over a long period of time. Even if Crouch was in the side, it didn't really affect him that much. Track, I feel, really becomes is a sensational option without Clayton Oliver in the side. And as someone was mentioning in the comments a bit further down, something about Oliver, legend here, saying that Oliver was training hard in a solo session today. Dude's an actual beast in person. So there is a possibility that we could see Clayton Oliver come sooner rather than later if he continues to perform really well in the preseason. And that return of Clary makes, I think, the track selection a little bit less worthwhile considering the early buy.
No, I think so as well. It really is kind of like a bit of a tricky thing. You hope that Dawson and Laird don't have a bit of a withdrawal in scoring. I think Joe and I are pretty set on Laird being the higher one of those two scores. But they could have a bit of a withdrawal in scoring depending on kind of roles and whatnot. And then Dawson comes in as well, and then Track and Oliver. So something to consider there. But I think early buy, missing out on Track probably hurts you a little bit more if you have him with those early buys.
Colin says, I wouldn't be expecting Zeeble-like numbers from Fisher.
No, I don't think so either. But it's the position, right? So we pick players based on their position and potential scoring. Fisher has had somewhat decent numbers in the past playing off halfback, and that's fantastic. So it's something to consider there. I don't know if he's going to be super premium, but at his price, you should be expecting 150K probably out of him if he keeps the role and is fit. I think it's those last 4 games, yeah. So, I mean, it's not great, but it's a lot better than what we've seen. It's more the numbers, like getting 25 disposals there, which is kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, correct. He needs the ball in his hand. Unfortunately, he's not the best ball user, which sort of limits him. Like if he was a better ball user, like if he had Kitty Coleman skills or Nazaya Wangani Malira skills for that price point in the forward line, I think it becomes worth it. But because he hasn't had the best disposal efficiency, I don't think he's been able to make full use of that role. Whereas someone like Zeeble tends to take the safer option, I think, when it came to his kicking. Aaron Hall was a bit more daring, and unfortunately, who kicked the ball out on the full one too many times.
Hey, Jaden Stevenson's there, and he kicks the ball to the other team. So, anyone's better than what we've got at the moment.
I guess, fair enough. Mike, how's it going, Michael? Thoughts on Luke Ryan? Hayden Young had no kick-ins from round 20, though Ryan only averaged 98 from round 20. Yeah, so
I think Luke Ryan's a fantastic pick.
Yeah.
Best buy round. No early buy. I think he's too good. It's only the price. So if Luke Ryan was probably like 50 to 60 points cheaper, 100% start him, no issue. The fact that he's not kind of hurts, and it really makes you toss up. Cool, do I pick him? Do I spend 40K more, pick a Sicily or a Tom Stewart or someone else? So, yeah, something to consider there. But you could easily go him in Houston and probably be very happy in that back line for like the whole season.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure off the top of my head that he performed better when Fremantle were poor and lost pretty hard because he got a lot of supply. I can forgive him for not scoring well as a defender when his team wins by 101 points, for example.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
it's like Tom Stewart. Geelong used to go massive, and Tom Stewart would score like 80 because the ball was never in the back line. Like, well, what are you going to do?
Exactly. So I wouldn't be entirely, even in this game, Hayden Young, he featured more in the midfield, I think, in this game. But I wouldn't be surprised if, there are a lot of circumstances in this season where Freo are up against it and they're losing quite a few games. The ball is heading into their back line quite a bit. There's no Hayden Young in there to take the ball off him. There's no Cox, who has got a foot injury. He's likely to have a delayed start to the season. Chapman is going to be rotating, floating between halfback and wing. So you'd imagine that Luke Ryan is just going to be the clear man down there. And I don't think you're going to get with Luke Ryan, you might not get a lot of monster scores, but what you will get is a high floor and a lot of safety in his scores. He's not going to dish you too many shit ones because of that monopoly on the kick-ins, which gives him, and plus we expect them to not feature very high on the ladder this year. So he should be getting a lot of supply back there. I think it's a fair price for Luke Ryan. And he should, barring injury or suspension, definitely be a top 6 defender.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't not be a top 6 as well. I think as well the likes of Oscar McDonald, maybe some of our Freo people in here can start talking about him as well. But putting more tall players that are going to be on there really frees up Luke Ryan to just be that interceptor that he just does very well with.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just going to load up the kick-in breakdown as well, because he was by far and away the number 1 kick-in taker, and now there's going to be even less competition there.
Right? Luke Ryan, basically all of the kick-ins, and then Hayden Young's left, so now he gets even more kick-ins. It's 3 points.
And Cox is injured.
Yep.
So that's another little bit there. So there's more love, more pieces of the pie for Luke Ryan to just keep hogging for himself. A question for you, Big J, from Supercoach God. Are you picking Cherry?
No, straight up. Just not. North Melbourne's ruck line is really sketchy. Cherry's never done it before. Cherry will end up having to share ruck time with someone else. Isn't really great anywhere else in the ground. So outside of being just tall, I don't think it's worth it. I'd rather spend up the 80K and go get Grundy and even just have another buy round. It's just going to be so much better for me.
Oh yeah,
and better for you guys too. Don't get sucked into that score.
I was talking a big game early by going Tristan Cherry before a lot of other people did, but it's a very risky game to play. If heck, you could even go even riskier and have like Conway, Sweet, and Finbar on the bench.
We saw the team today. It's so dirty. Just don't do it.
It's very dirty.
The thing that I'll tell everyone, right? We'll probably do a video on it, but don't go super cheap in the ruck line. It doesn't pay off. Yes, you could end up having the next Briggs. You could have 3 Briggses this year and you'd be laughing. But every single team that I've seen that's gone super cheap in the ruck line still ends up having the same amount of premiums and the same amount of midfield as everyone else. Because you're spending 150K for a ruck line player, or you're doing that for a rookie in the midfield. Like, it's like for like, really.
Absolutely. Flag Pies, g'day, mate. Thanks for coming on. Freddie, Supercoach, how's it going, Freddie? Trent Rivers D1 end of the season, mate. If that happens, it would be crazy if that happens. I don't even know what I'd do. We'll make a bet on it, Freddie. We'll place a bet on that. Trav, how's it going, Travis? Weddle or Coleman? Who to start at D4? D4.
I think it's an interesting one, right? Because does Coleman come in and take Rich's points? Does someone else kind of push him out? It's a real preseason watch. And I think we're very, very lucky in the fact that Coleman does play round 0. So you can see how the team lines up, right? It's not like Supercoach where, he doesn't score points. It's not worth 4 points in the actual game. Round 0 matters. So it's something to watch there. If I had to just go pure stats, I think potentially Weddle, but Coleman's done it and been best 22 for a lot longer.
He has. But that round 2 buy is so annoying.
Oh, of course. It's shocking. Like
he plays here.
Cheaper. Weddle's a lot cheaper too. So
correct. Like he'll play round 0. We'll have a look at him. He'll come play round 1, where the game actually starts, and then round 2 have a day off. Like, so you don't even have a price rise. So you don't have to bust your gut to get him in to start him ASAP, because he's having a rest after playing 1 game for you. He's already gone having a sleep. So I don't know about Coleman. I think Weddle's probably more appealing to me. He is cheaper, as you say, Big J. Plus, they're really raving about him. Even Corns, even Kane Corns is saying that this guy could be one of the best players in the league. So he's getting a lot of attention. And
Coleman really feels like the biggest trap. Like,
I know
we'll do a traps video, but he just feels like the biggest trap. My gut
these 2 injuries
just says trap. Like, plays 1 game, then has a bye, and then like he's an awkward price that you can't really upgrade to. So you better hope that he scores enough. and hasn't really had that many huge super coach. Well, yeah, he's had 100s every so often, but not like super consistent enough. Even when Daniel Rich wasn't playing those games. So, tee up, work out where Daniel Rich is, Joe. See how many games Coleman, what his scores were without Rich in the team.
I can do that, but look how many injury-affected games he's had. He had 1,
Exactly.
2, 3, 4, 5. He's had 6 injury-affected games last year. Like that's too crazy for me. I don't like it. And I know a lot of people I think have got recency bias, having watched him really dominate in that grand final and the prelim before that. But that's just not going to be the standard. It's not going to be easy disposals up and down the ground for Kitty Coleman. People will have analysed the Brisbane Lions, and they can't rely on that slow ball movement to win them the game, to win them the grand final. Everyone wants to move the ball faster, and they can't be relying on this one guy to do it. I would imagine another preseason into Connor McKenna, maybe some more work into guys like Darcy Wilmot, for example.
And Fletcher as well probably takes a little bit of...
Exactly, and Fletcher as well. Yeah, so there's a bunch of players who would be involved.
Start clicking, then I'll give you the things. Go back. So you want 3. So round 3. Did you play round 3? Yep. 8, 9, 10.
Yep.
12. I'm not sure if round 12 was their bye.
Yeah, it was their bye.
Oh, right. So then he played round 13, and after that he didn't play. So no, take away 13. So get rid of 13. Yep. So 14 to 24, Daniel Rich didn't play.
Okay.
So we'll see what his average is like.
79.5.
Kitty Coleman without Rich in the team only averaged an 80. What more are you expect? Obviously, he's going to have not injury affected games and whatever, but what are you expecting? It's not like he came out and scored 300. Yes, the finals games were better, but during the regular season, it's not that good.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Freddie talking about Trent Rivers exclusively playing mid. I want to see it. I want to see it, Freddie, before I completely believe it.
I want it to work.
We want it to work, but I think Sparrow will feature a little bit in there as well. I don't think it's just going to be exclusively just Rivers. And I agree. I don't think Angus Brayshaw is going to be playing mid anymore. I think he's like I've said before, he's 1 concussion away. So I think it's going to be shared between Rivers and Sparrow. Both are fairly dynamic players who are really good low center of gravity type of operators. So we've got to keep a close eye on that. Cheese, Liam Duggan. Is he tickling anyone's cabbage patches?
No. Next question. No.
Not mine. Sorry.
Next question.
Supercoach squad. Trent Rivers a next year pick.
Oh,
could be, but maybe not. Again, Clayton Oliver should be back by then, and he'll be playing full time. And by the way, as Supercoach squad benches down here, I think Liam Duggan got injured very recently. Yes, that's a very good observation.
Today or yesterday?
Happened yesterday. Actually, let's see if we can pull it up.
Yeah, today or yesterday he got injured. So
latest news.
It's a no from me.
It is a no from all of us here. What happened there? Thomas. Eagles co-captain star suffers injury scares. Liam Duggan sent a scare through the Eagles camp when he limped from the track. Has been cleared of significant injury. However, he appeared to tweak a knee, received attention from trainers after limping from the track. He had suffered a corked leg. So you've got to keep a close eye on that and the extent on the 27-year-old. He's not a spring chicken anymore. He's still in the prime of his career. Don't get me wrong. He's still lucky. He's got a lot of games to play, but corked legs is a little bit of a watch.
No, that's true. Like, it's just a club injury, right? So it doesn't matter too much, but he's just giving off warning signs already in the game. The season hasn't even started.
Correct. B. James, how's it going, my friend? Thanks for coming on. Hole as well. Very cool. How's it going? Thoughts on Gresh apparently getting mid-minutes. I wouldn't go Gresham Globes. Yes, he is a great player. He's a good finder of the football, but it's his disposal efficiency, which has let him down, I think, a lot of the times, and why he hasn't been a very consistent Supercoach scorer. Plus, he's a little bit too expensive for my liking. And he'll have a little bit of time rotating through the middle, but overall, he will predominantly be a forward half type of player. And we need good smalls in the forward line to replace the likes of Snelling and things like that. So he could play half forward. Dylan Shield.
No, Devon Smith. Sorry, Devon Smith.
Smith. Oh, Devon Smith left ages ago.
Oh, but you still got to replace him. Like, you haven't done it yet. So that's what.
He left a long time ago. So, but yeah, you look at his Supercoach scoring. It's never been really relevant, and it's not tantalizing at all. So I don't want to pick someone who doesn't have a lot of history behind him. I definitely want to use my very precious starting selections to nail my mid-prices, because last year I got burnt to a crisp with the mid-price madness approach. I don't want to be burnt again.
I think there's too many good cheap mid-prices. Your Billings, Harms, Tom Lynch, even a few others there, where you don't have to go and spend up the 80K extra to go up to a Gresh. I don't think he's going to be a keeper, as Joe says. He might make you 50K, 80K if you're lucky, but you're spending that on the back end as well. So you'd rather just start a cheaper player, get a bit more out of him, a guy who probably ends up scoring the same amount as those as well, especially because, Tom Lynch, if he scores goals, he's going to get a lot of points. Harms and Billings as well. So, yeah, it's probably a bit of a no. Maybe if he starts off and he does quite well, the next year or this year, you can pick him up next year, but not going to happen.
P. James, Thornton starting Filippo, currently in my side, but still keeping tabs on him.
It's a no from me. Like, I just don't think
I haven't heard that he's going to be getting extensive mid minutes, and ultimately that's what you want. I know they're going to develop him into that type of player, but I don't think he's there yet. I imagine we haven't even heard things about Winhager, for example, and there was a lot of raving about Winhager.
Outside of a couple of pictures where him and Machito Owens look really buff, there hasn't been much coming out of St Kilda's training lots at the moment. So it's a big wait and see, but Philippou's just not there for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather spend up the money. You probably got, let's have a real think about it, right? 1 or 2 premiums in your forward line and then 2 mid prices. Who are you going to go? You're not going to go Billings? The guy was a premium 2 years ago. You're not going to go these players. You're going to go Philippou, who's more expensive, who's never done it before. Yeah, it might not even be best 22.
Correct.
I don't know.
I think he'll be best 22. Let's not disrespect the kid. He's definitely a top talent in the game, in the league, and he played all 24 rounds last year. So clearly the Saints rate him really highly. And I know for myself as an Essendon fan, I actually wanted us to pick up Philippou. I didn't want us to pick up Elijah Sardis. No disrespect to Sardis, but I just think this guy...
That's probably a better pick, to be honest, for you guys. But then you picked up Caddy, the next year. If you had got Philippou instead of Sardis, it would have been better for you. But then you got Caddy anyway, so it kind of evens out a bit.
Oh, mate. We know we're back into full swing of this season now. That Cheese is giving us his cheese once again. Oh, mate. Thank you so much. You are a very generous person. Thanks, you really don't have to.
I don't know if I agree with this comment, though. Campbell Chesser will be the new Shannon Hearn. Maybe he'll eventually have the same hairline as Shannon Hearn, but I don't think they'll be the same player. Chester's getting injured. The game hasn't even started yet, so bit of a watch and see for him.
Campbell Chesser has more holes in him than Swiss Cheese does, Cheese. So... in his football ability. So I don't know. I'm really hoping Campbell Chesser makes a career out of himself for you guys. But look, you will definitely fly up again. You guys are one of the best teams at very quickly rebounding from and rebuilding your team. So that's a massive well done to you. So oh my God. Now even Supercoach God is dropping us with a tenner, mate. What is going on?
What is this? Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, man. Guys don't have to do that. So,
I promise I'm not selling myself out here.
Change your name, Donation God. Let's go.
Donation God. Super Donation God. Please, I promise we're not selling ourselves out here. But if you guys haven't head on over to Supercoach God's channel. He is pumping out the content. He's had a bit of a break. He's now well and truly back in the full swing of things. He's a very entertaining and very knowledgeable young man. Please head on over to Supercoach God and chuck him a subscription. Love to help him grow as well as our own growth. Massive thank you to all of you guys as well for being with us on this ride so far. We hope you're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we had people who helped us get to that magic 1K number. We're here to come and help other people as well. So as much as we can do that, that's what we can do.
Absolutely. Stuart MC, lots of rooks. Dollars could emerge in the mid. Could you see this affecting structure? Less primos in the mid.
See, I think it's the other way around. I think there might be a couple of good rooks, but I know my team at the moment is looking like it's probably 6 premiums. I know Joe's been playing with a few of those teams at the moment. Quite a few other teams as well. You've definitely got to go around chasing the rookies. But
yeah,
I don't know. Like, the back line's got some really good mid prices. The forward line does as well, which means that you generally go cheaper there, which means that you throw your extra money into midfielders. I do not feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable fielding anyone that's not McKercher and Sanders. Like, last year, maybe we've had 3, but it becomes a real liability because sometimes they just don't get points. So if you don't have those 2, if you've got 3 or 4 in that midfield, you're really going to have to be very confident because otherwise it's just not going to work for you.
Yeah, I do agree. I think you're right, Stuart, when you say in terms of the rookies, because rookies do dictate structure. And where there's a lot of rookies available, you do want to try and get all those best rookies as best you can. But as Big J says, the midfield, it's a really tight race and you want to get the most points that you can possibly get out of that line. And if you've got another rookie on there compared to someone who's got a premium on the field, it can be quite a stark difference and it could leave you behind, especially early on in the best 18 buy rounds. In terms of the rookies in the midfield, apart from McKercher Sanders, I think Roberts is a fair shout for the Swans, Sharp and Clark. There's Jake Rogers from the Gold Coast Suns. There's also Sin, who we spoke about early in the piece as well, who was playing off halfback for the number 1 team over there, Port Adelaide. There is Cooper Simpson, who has been getting some good raps out of Fremantle as well. Sean Manor, he's mid-eligible. Darcy Wilson's mid-eligible. But really, in terms of this, I don't think there are too many that you would be wanting to field. I think batting deep in the midfield is better.
Yeah, and the best thing about Supercoach as well, when we've got a year like this year where there's so many uncertainties and probably you have to spend a lot of your money upgrading through the forward line, you want to start the most amount of expensive players that you can.
Yes.
You'd rather go into it and be able to upgrade 500k, 550k for a forward line player or potentially for a defender versus having to run in and spend that much money on a midfielder. You don't want to have to try and upgrade into a Petrarca Bont Laird at 600-700k when all of that first upgrade round of money is going to come into the other positions. It's too much. Yep. Start with the most expensive guys. Start with the locks as much as you can, and then work your way off from there.
Yep. And that's right, Corey. He was another person. Clay Hall was another rookie that I missed. He was playing and attending centre bounces in the last Eagles match sim. So definitely he's one to keep an eye on. Jen, how's it going? We're doing well. Thanks for coming on.
How you doing, Jen? I like your Josh Dacos picture.
Very nice. Very nice.
Plays for the wrong team.
Is Stewart, Young, Buderick, Chapman, and Z Will too light of a defense?
No. No. That's Joe's defense.
It's almost my defense to it.
Close enough.
It's close enough, Freddie.
No, I don't think so. It really depends on how many premiums you're running. As I said, if you can start other players there, you always chase the value and you chase the guys who are going to end up going up in price. So, like I say, if you've got forward rookies or forward mid-prices who are fantastic, stack somewhere else. If you've got defense mid-prices or even value players like a Young, stack somewhere else. So, it's fine. As a backline, it's fine.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of good value options in the back line, and where there's value, I think you chase it as much as you can. I mean, you really could be tossing a coin between Sicily, Stewart, Luke Ryan, Dacos, any of these over 600k players. I think you're safe, regardless of who you pick. I think they're all going to be very decent players, and they're all going to be top 6 to 8 defenders. So really, it's the spice of life. Variety is the spice of life. Whatever floats your boat, you lean with that, really. But regardless, I think all of them are going to be very decent picks. But at the same time, I don't think any of them are going to really punish you for not starting them. And you can always sort of pick them up at a later point in time. Whereas you want to sort of plan your upgrades like a Dacos, for example. For those of us who aren't starting him, everyone's sort of planning to get him in after his buy. So as long as you've got a strategy in place for how you're going to upgrade your team, I don't think it's a big deal if you miss out, especially if we see in the preseason that Buderick really is flourishing in that Jaden Short role. And by reports, it seems that he really is. So it's one to be optimistic about, but don't just hope it will happen. You really have to be objective about it. Don't fall in love with this player. I'm quoting Abs here. Don't fall in love with your players. You gotta be ruthless. If there's something you don't like, something that isn't going to be conducive to scoring, cut him. Bye-bye.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's one of the things as well that some people who make content, they'll obviously do it throughout the season, but they always say, hey, be very careful of preseason training reports, because you could hear a player doing so well through the preseason, they don't even feature in the preseason games. They're not even named or close to not being named. Maybe they're a sub or emergency. You really got to be careful about kind of your bias that way.
Yep, exactly. Cheese, high on the midfield, big four of Dawson, Butters, LDU, and Brayshaw. Great buys, and I expect all of them to be top 10 mids if healthy, of course.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what we'll talk about in our video tomorrow. Hopefully you guys can kind of jump on for that, because, we definitely feature all of those players in there. LDU is probably the trickiest one of the bunch. Maybe Dawson, depending on what happens, but LDU's just got to be fit. And he hasn't really had a full season of playing before. So if he's fit, whatever, we start him. As we said last year with English, and we didn't do it, you always start the risky players. You never try and upgrade to them if you can.
Yeah, I have a lot of courage. I didn't start LDU last year. I didn't have him at all, God. Definitely.
Those people that got burnt like round 3 when he was laid out and they couldn't change it in their teams. Whoops.
Yeah, that is a horror show, but that's not entirely his fault. That's also Supercoach's fault for not being able to handle the meltdown. I don't know. I just think based on the preseason that he's going, based on his own talent, his own natural progression, plus I've seen his scoring, what he's capable of, and he's done it over a number of games. Yes, there were some injury concerns and injury interruptions during the season last year, but by reports, he hasn't missed a session this year round, and him losing Goldie, I don't think is a big deal, because North weren't really playing Goldie as a primary ruck for much of this towards the back half of the season anyway. He was playing more of a forward, I feel. So I don't know. I reckon LDU he's the breakout selection for me. Out of him or Newcomb, I'm definitely leaning towards LDU as more of a breakout top 8 finishing type of player.
Well, we'll just wait and see. It really just comes down to fitness, but start the risk if you can. It's going to hurt if you don't have him, especially if he comes out and drops like a 150 against West Coast and all these other teams super early. So we'll see how it goes.
Exactly. Adam, how's it going, Adam? G'day, guys. Would you be starting Dawson and Laird, or Butters and Rosie, or split them completely, such as Laird and Butters? Obviously, not knowing the full side, not the easiest question. But I'll let you go first on this one, Adam. Oh, not Adam, sorry, Big J.
I would definitely split. I think if you had to pick, right, I would go Butters and Rosie, just because we know that they're the number one sets in their team. There's no one else that's going to come in and steal the points. I think Dawson and Laird are going to end up sharing some points around a little bit, and that's similar to what we saw last year, right? Crouch came in, some points kind of went off, that kind of thing. No one's touching Butters or Rosie's points. In saying that, if you wanted to be a bit different, you could potentially go like a Butters and a Laird and pick what you would assume to be the best of the two. But if you had to choose, Butters and Rosie. And early, like, best buy as well. So bit of a tricky one.
For me, I'd go Butters and Laird as the two. I think reports said that Rosie was on managed minutes in this game. And I think that the way Butters ended the season last year, he is one of the most dynamic players. I mean, in his last month of footy, he went 141 average. He's an insane talent. I would definitely have Butters ahead of Rosie. I think Rosie is a bit more, fluctuating in his scores if he plays a bit more half forward, because he is such a classy user of the football in front of the big sticks. He has incredible goal sense, like Connor Rosie. He's such a freak. But I think his skills are better used as a half forward almost, and then pinch hitting in the midfield that way. So for me, out of the two Port players, I'd go Butters, and I would go Rory Laird for the other one, because he doesn't have an early buy, and Rory Laird has been a beacon of consistency in terms of his games played every season, 22, 20, 22. Yeah, he had a bit on the soft one there, but 22, 20, 24. Like, he's very good at being available, and he's very good at consistent scoring over a number of years. This was his first rotation into the centre bounces, really, as you can see. I know he's turned 30 years old, Rory Laird, but for the most of his career, he actually wasn't playing as an inside mid. He only started to get a taste of centre bounces in 2020, and he only had about a third of them. He didn't really become a full-time mid until 2021. So his body hasn't been worn down over the rigors of being an inside mid for many years. I expect Rory Laird to well and truly be in the top 5 midfield scorers this year. So I'd go with Laird and Butters for the two.
Yeah, I mean, that's the two players that I said as well. So.
This is Laird's last year as a midfielder, as they have some absolute young beasts.
Potentially.
Could be. It could be. I don't know. I think it depends on him. I think they've been very happy to continue to play people like Rory Sloane in there, as long as they continue to show form before being pushed out to a wing. I think it depends on Laird. I don't think they're going to kick him out just because there are other young players behind. They're going to continue to do what's best for their team, I would imagine. And Rory Laird, as long as he continues to dominate and do really well, why would they force him out? That's why they've still got Tex Walker in the side, right? He's old, but he's still killing it. So why would you force him into an early retirement?
I think some of these teams as well, they do value the younger players, but then they also, I'm not going to reference North Melbourne, but there's definitely teams where you've got a really good group of young players and you need that older player in the team to steady the ship. I'm not saying Rory Laird's in his mid-30s, but he is older of the bunch. And when the other guys struggle, he just turns the jets on and carries the team forward. So, it is what it is.
John, hey guys, who would you pick, Wardlaw or Amon?
Oh, if I had to pick and both were fit, Wardlaw. Yeah.
That's it? No explanation? Just
well, it looks like Carl Amon might. It looks like Carl Amon might end up losing his majority of his halfback role. So we'll have to wait and see for that. Wardlaw is about 100k cheaper. So there's 10 to 15 points worth of scoring that he has to score less to be Carl Amon's price already. Carl Amon has to be a keeper at his price, whereas Wardlaw just has to have a good, first 5 or 6 games, get enough cash, and then go up, which I think you can do if you can come into the season fit.
What's your early fixture like? Let's have a look at North.
And Wardlaw's got, if Wardlaw's fit, he's got that role in the midfield. Like, no one's going to kick Wardlaw out. So,
Giants, Tom Green, Cogs, Ward, tough matchup. Freo against Young, Sarong, Brayshaw. Could do well.
Our contested game's never been a problem. That's the thing. Like, the other areas of the ground haven't worked out well. Obviously, the defense, we do that, but our contested game with LDU on fire and a few others, it's not terrible.
No. Against the Swans last year, he scored an 85. Against Collingwood, he scored a 43. That's not as great. Against the Bombers, he scored a 65. We're not a strong contested ball side, so I thought his impact was more than what a 65 was, but
I think he got a couple. Did he get free kicks? Yeah, he got free kicks against. So
2 against, right?
right.
Yeah. The Giants, he scored 94 on them last year, so that's really interesting. That's really exciting. The Dogs are a black hole of Supercoach scoring, so I can forgive him there. The Crows are a strong contested ball side as well.
But at his price, he only needs to start scoring like 85 for him to actually be worth like upgrading and getting money, right?
Wait, let's see. What is he? Wardlaw. How much is Wardlaw?
Like 360?
365, and he's priced at 65. So he needs to go 85 to make 100K.
No, he's not going 20. He's not going 20 points to make 100K, Joe.
Yeah, isn't it 10 points above the average to make 50K, and then another 10 to make 100K?
Maybe.
So he has to go. He has to go 85 odd to make 100.
I reckon he can score 85.
He's capable of it. I mean, we've seen here in his scoring last year, he's had 185.
Half his scores were 85 last year, or close enough.
Yeah, he's had 3 out of.
Yeah,
3 out
and
of 4, 5, 7,
round
8.
18, he was injured. So
right, so we can forgive him. Yeah, so he could do it. He could absolutely do it if he stays fit and healthy. I think he's capable.
Look at the time on ground for those worst games as well. Like he burst Essendon 87 off half game time. He played half a game and scored 87. Like he scored 73 off 70% game time.
No, he had 70% time on ground.
No, but above.
He had 70% time on ground.
Round 22.
In round 22. Right, sorry, 55, yes.
Yeah, so
insane.
It's doable.
Yeah. He's a gun. There's no denying his talent. Yeah. Go Wardlaw. Wardlaw over Amon John. There you go. You had it.
I don't think you pick either, though. That's the only problem.
Jeez, the only problem I have was Luke Ryan. With Luke Ryan is he's around the same price as Stewart, Sick Dog, and Houston, and I think all those 3 are better options.
Yeah,
they're all going to feature in the top 6 defenders, I think. So, I mean,
it's just not a cute pick. Like it's a safe pick. Luke Ryan and Houston are definitely going to be top 8. They've been top 8, top 6 for 3 years running already. They're just not. There's not like they're not exciting picks. Like the consistency is there, but probably not the ceiling as much.
Not Houston. Houston does not have consistency. Houston is a Birdman. Like
Houston does have big games though. He'll score a 150 and then next week score an 85. Like
he starts the season. He started the season last year.
He plays like a key forward, Joe. He has one good game and then gets nullified the next game and then goes back up again.
Like he goes 86, 72, 110, 77. So his first month of footy, he's averaged 86 points.
Yep.
So you never know. If he has a slow start to the year, Houston could actually drop in value before you to pick him up a little bit cheaper. And then we'll go like a 123, 93. We'll occasionally have an 81. We'll do okay. Then a random 47. And then a random 85. And a 61. And a 63. Like Houston is prone to dropping stinkers. So for me, I think Ryan is going to give you a lot more reliable scoring than Dan Houston. Like, I'm not saying Dan Houston's bad, and I'm not being biased because he broke my heart when he kicked that goal after the siren. I'm just looking at the numbers here. Like he's prone to dropping a random 47 out of the blue. You know what I mean? So,
and his positioning doesn't change as much either. Like if you look at where he is on the map, he'll score a 47 in the same type of zone as he scores a 120 the next week. So it's really weird, man. It's really weird.
Correct. And he pushes forward. Like this orange here, this mustard, that is forward mid. So
I think for a time he ended up getting shafted a little bit like Callum Mills did, where he becomes the fix-it man, and when they need to do some forward pressure, that's when he goes up the ground. So hopefully that doesn't happen as much in a stronger Port Adelaide team this year.
Yeah, I know there are some people out there who are really bullish on Dan Houston, but for me, I really just don't see it to be honest. I mean, I don't know if people are saying that he's likely to not have these aberrations in terms of his scoring simply because they've improved their backline by adding Isava and by adding BZT. But at the same time, he's never played key position defense. So they're adding key position units to their backline. That's not necessarily going to translate into a better role for Houston because he's never played key defense. So maybe it means that they'll be able to repel the ball more, but they had a very good end to the season. They're a very good team. They've improved themselves. And I just can't see where all of a sudden this newfound consistency is going to come from for Dan Houston. Unless you just really love him as a player. Like, Causa, for example, he's a must for me. He's one of my favorite players. Like, if he's one of your favorite players and you really want to be an owner and you want to be along there for the ride, then that's entirely up to you how you want to play the game. Kudos to you. Houston has West Coast round 1 and will be better with Zerk Thatcher and Asala. I don't know about that. Like, because I reckon Port Adelaide are going to smash West Coast. And if they're going to smash West Coast, then a defender of half-back is not going to get the ball a lot because they're going to be absolutely killing him. So, if anything, I'd be a lot more excited if you're a Zach Butters owner, because Zach Butters is going to go bananas in that week. I think Zach Butters could be a very fine captaincy option against West Coast. I don't necessarily think that means Houston becomes a good selection.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think so.
All right, let's go back up to some of these other comments. Where are we up to? Chase. Oh, no, Chase didn't have Briggs last year? What a shame.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, God. That's rough.
That was a bad time for him.
Matthew Dick, how's it going, Matt? Hey, boys, how many primos in the midfield is too many? I'm currently rocking 6 with 3 defenders, 2 rucks, and 1 forward.
That's fine. 6 is fine. No worries.
Yep, I've got 6 myself. I think 6 is going to be the meta call. I think that's what most people are going to do. 6 primos. Depends, like, at the 6th one, like, whether it's a light primo, like a Carl Amon, Nick Martin, Matt Crouch, Ollie Wines, but I think 6 is the play, I think. And it's just because it depends on the rookies. Outside of McKercher and Sanders, maybe a Roberts, if he's best 23. Not too many golden rookies that are going to score us a lot of points on field this year, by the looks of things.
You're stealing on my words, Joe.
I'll let you start with Bailey Scott then, for Harvey.
I think not, Harvey. I really think not. The scoring potential might be there, but he's playing wing at North Melbourne. I don't think he's ever had, maybe Joe can pull up his stats, but I don't think he's ever had like a real premium level scoring. I think the team will get stronger in certain areas, but it's just a no pick for me, really.
There you go. Sorry, Bailey Scott was just having a little drink there. I am talking a lot. You're right.
It's a no pick for me. He's had the potential, right? He's had a couple of games in the 90s, a 135 against the Hawks, which was fantastic. He's getting better as a player, but I don't think he's got enough to lift his average from a 75 last year to now at 4? Is he 440k? Give me a sec. Midfield. Yeah, so it's 423k. Basically, he's probably got to lift his scoring like 25 points. I just don't see it happening.
So he's priced at 75. He has to go 95 to make 100k.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen.
So that's just a quick rule of thumb, guys, for to determine whether or not this person's going to be successful or not. It used to be $150,000 net gain is a positive. But now that the number of trades has gone down, around about 100,000 per trade seems to be about right. So if you want to I suppose, just a quick rule of thumb, you want to know how much someone has to average to make 100,000, you just got to add 20 to the average. Because if they increase the average by 10, it means they'll make 50,000. If they increase the average by 20, they'll make 100,000. If they used to be you wanted 150,000, so you would want to have it up by 30 points, the average. But in this case here, we only need it by 20, and he's already priced at about 76. So to get to 96 is a bit unrealistic there.
Yeah. And that's why we see all these rookies saying, cool, Manor or Cooper Simpson, whoever you want to pick, they're rated at about a 20. So all they need to do is get a 50, which in realistic terms is like, what, 12 points a quarter. Like, it's pretty easy to do. That's like 2 or 3 touches. So, you know, that's kind of where the initial price rise goes in, and then it kind of goes down from there.
Call me Mr. Rain Man, God. Call me Mr. Rain Man. Definitely. I'm not a mathematician. I freaking hate maths. I hate maths, but I got to do it for this sometimes. All right. Where we go up to? Yes, Jen.
Jen's asking, thoughts of picking De Goey this year? Bringing him in after his first bye. He's been training very well, and seeing him train on Friday, he's in good form. The only problem is De Goey feels like he's in good form every year. And I just don't think he warrants the price. Truly, I don't think he's going to hold up. I don't think he's going to do enough to become like a premium level scorer. And halfway through the season, you're not bringing someone in who's probably 550k. Like, you're just not. You're bringing in an Uber Primo or a Fallen Premium, not a De Goey type. So for me, as a solo mid, good luck if you do it, but it's a no from me.
I mean, he averaged 96, 90.
Yeah.
He's never once averaged 100 for his career, even getting bulk CBAs. So that's not premium scoring. Plus his price point, he's already priced at 96.
Yeah.
So
it's too high.
Look, Supercoach God, De Goey going to average 150.
Mate, this guy's making predictions all day.
Mate, he's God, right? God can make predictions because the thing is, God speaks things into existence. So if he's going to average 150, then you got to select him, mate. I don't go for Collingwood. No, you do, God. I know you. You do go for Collingwood. But yeah, no, I can't see it. I can't see it. For me, I'm very happy to wait and see what his role is like, what his approach is like. He's just come off a premiership, and we know that Jordan De Goey is not the most diligent of people, the most diligent of players. He's not a very much,
especially around like that mid-season bye break. Like, Collingwood's going to have a week off. What is it, round 5 or 6? He might not come back after then.
Yeah, he's not a Denzel. What is not Denzel? Sorry, he's not a what was his name? Jared Butler, law-abiding citizen. We're not gonna. Yeah. I don't think that's not Jordan De Goey. So I want to see what he's like after his premiership. So that will be interesting.
Going down the list,
Ian, what Hardwick does at Gold Coast will be very interesting for Super. Oh,
and that's where that round 0 is really important. And it's fantastic that Gold Coast have that round 0. Like, as much as we hate on the AFL for round 0, obviously it's changing the Supercoach and we've all got to adapt, whatever. Round 0 helps us to really kind of get through some of these questions. We can go through the list now, right? What's going to happen at GWS? What's going to happen at Gold Coast? What's going to happen no Ashcroft? Like at Brisbane. We get all these, and even Sydney, bringing in the James Jordan and all these kind of players. We get a free look at all these people. Like round 0, we're probably going to make like 8 or 9 videos just that week of analysis, everyone. What do we see? What do we not see? Blah, blah, blah. Because the teams are just, it's so influential. I'm not sure if they're going to do it again next year. But as we say, right, Supercoach is about adapting. Every year we get new rules, new things happening. Round 0 is going to be real tricky. And it's going to be a lot of recency bias in round 12. Like, a lot of starting teams are going to be like, cool, this is what it is. Maybe not so much a Brisbane and Carlton because they don't have the early price rise. But some of these players, if you don't jump on a rookie and they've done well in round 1 and they do the same in round 2, you're so far behind. Even mid prices too.
I think ultimately, the mid prices that, because there are so many mid prices in these games that we're going to have a say. Like, obviously in Sydney, you got James Jordan and Taylor Adams, for example. In Melbourne, you've got someone like Billings. Can we see Trent Rivers? What we're going to see from him? Petrarca against a good midfield and Gorn versus Grundy. So that game alone is going to be really interesting. The Suns, obviously, what role is Flanders going to have? What role is Buderick really going to be? Jaden Short 2.0, for example. How does Tuke Miller look? Is Matt Rowell taking the next step in his career? Over at Richmond, we see some of these rookies like, hey, what's Gipkus look like this year? What's Trezise look like this year? Is Tom Lynch a genuine mid-price option in the forward line, for example?
Yeah.
So, and then again, like it's Collingwood, how Nick Dacos does, will determine if we pick him or not. Like, how does Nick Dacos do in this game? Do we have to start him?
Imagine if Nick Dacos comes out gets tagged, something happens, whatever, scores a sub 100. The uproar, how many people be like, Nick Dacos losing money, let's go. Like, it's only one round. But, mate, the uproar and everything else, Joe, his ownership could really fall if people are expecting to pick him up cheaper, like round 6.
Correct. So, but we will be doing live watch-alongs of these games because these games are so important. It cannot be understated just how vital each of these games are. And the more eyes that we've got on the game, watching it together and pointing out various things, the more we're all going to be making more well-informed decisions about each of these players, especially in the mid-price department. So please stay tuned for round 0 when it comes along.
Yep.
Well, shit, the more you know. I love you, Cheese. You're a funny man. Causa, cross Jed Walter off to start the year. I know, poor guy. Poor Jed.
Yeah. I think it's 8 weeks at a minimum. So, yeah. I mean, we unfortunately sometimes this happens to these key forward players. We know what happened to the King brothers early and throughout early parts of their career. I don't think it's going to affect Walter too much, but yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. The thing that might hurt Walter a bit more is the fact that if he had a really good preseason, you would think that he would be straight into round 1. Whereas now, because he's going to miss all the preseason, he might have to play through the VFL before he actually gets a look in.
Yeah, exactly.
I doubt
Michael,
he comes in like round 4 and just play straight away.
Chances of Yo 447k lasting 5 games, then upgrade to Dacos after his bye. If he doesn't perform, can trade in a performing Brisbane or Carlton player in round 3 after their bye.
Michael, I think you're just wishing, mate. I mean, what's Yo priced at? Let's have a quick look at Yo. Let's not be biased, right? So correct. Yo, where we think Dacos is probably going to have to make, or probably going to be, let's say, 580k, 580. So Elliot Yo's got to come out and drop.
He's got to average 100.
Like like 25 points more than what he is at the moment. I don't know if he can average 100. Like Elliot Yo's averaged 100 in 5 weeks. I don't know, man.
Let's have a look at his history, mate. Let's have a look at his history. Let's see what DFS.
Yeah, but how many of those are going to be injury affected games? That's the problem.
A lot of them are going to be injury affected.
A lot.
That's his problem, Elliot Yo. Yeah. I mean, look at this. Like, he's a hospital ward by himself. Walking wounded all the time. I mean, he had a couple of games where he went nice and 93 there, sub 98. I mean, again, it's possible, but it's very unlikely. Very unlikely, Michael. He's like Nat Fyfe. So much optimism, so much hope, so much potential, but their bodies just continue to break down. And that's an issue. You don't want to be wasting trades early trying to correct these really awkward mid prices. You want to use your trades for upgrades.
Hey guys, if you haven't already, smash that like button. It really helps us out. Subs to the channel as well.
I don't know. Am I supposed to be happy about this or not?
I don't know. I can't remember when, like the timestamp. What did we talk about at 8 o'clock? Just try and like work that out 40 minutes ago. I'm not quite sure.
I have no idea. Richard, how's it going, Rich? Newcomb in. Oh, you've got a bunch of friends, Rich. You got a bunch of friends who like Jai Newcomb. None more so than a good friend here, Philip, who is Shaq Attack, who loves to be mean to Supercoach God. Be nice to him, Shaq, man. Come on. Try tracking him down here. Look, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of the Duke Nukem in terms of Supercoach scoring this year. He can certainly do well. Don't get me wrong, but is he going to do well enough to be a top 8 mid? I don't know about that.
No, I don't think so. Moving down the list.
77.
Yeah, I kept chest. A lot of people did. A lot of people did, and I hope these kind of extra buy trades, but extra trades really help to cycle out some injured players in people's teams. We're going to have to do a bit of info on trade management because I know my trade management has not been very good. Joe's hasn't been that great either. But the people that have a lot of trades in the second half of the year are the ones that usually do really well. So something to watch out for there.
Oh no, Supercoach God's being attacked by on all angles.
Mate.
Travis has got no, Supercoach God. No, we respect you. We love you here at the Centre Bounce. Travis's views do not reflect our views. Okay. And Shaq's views don't represent our views either. Okay. Jump in VC before I send you back to Q. Get out of here, Shaq. B. James, housemate reckons 60% mid-time for the poo. 60%? Who's he kicking out?
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is that like these players, I don't know, 60% is a lot. Maybe like
that is a lot.
And even worse with like Henry coming back into the team. No one's really left from Kilda. So I don't know, man. Maybe 60%
over there.
time in like the VFL, but
I mean,
you can't go from like no mid time
from 9% to 60%.
I don't see it happening.
Look, stranger things have happened, but I personally don't see it.
Maybe like Jack Steele leaves and starts playing like as a defender or a forward or something. Then it happens, but
you got to get some more details. Get more details from your housemate, B. James.
Because it wasn't even like Billings is left and Billings took a lot of that.
Correct.
Like he just didn't play.
Correct.
Yeah, I think so. Chief, definitely people are sleeping on Harms. What really helps him is that no early buy as well. So it's a bit of a watch and see. But if he plays well in those preseason games, people are really going to jump on. We could see our forward line with like 3 or 4 mid prices this year.
Yeah, absolutely. He only played the 9 games last year, but we've seen historically he can go 80, even above 80. So for his price point, absolutely really handy. And Bevo does Bevo things. He might even chuck him on the ball every now and then because
Bevo loves to bring in like his age type player through the VFL. He's going to play Harms in a good role in the AFL. It's just going to happen.
Yeah. Globes, Fife versus Jordan versus Billings versus Lynch versus Harms.
Versus Harms. All right.
Oh boy. We have to do this. Who rises the fastest?
1 to 5.
Who rises the fastest?
In my order, it's probably Billings, Jordan, Lynch, Fife, Harms. That's my.
So you reckon Harms rises the slowest then in terms of the price?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Look, I reckon Fife gets injured.
I think a lot of those half forwards get like a 60 to 70, and that's where like the VFL rookie ones are really good. But I don't know if Harms comes in and pops out like 80s and 90s, as a Jordan or a Billings can do. But we'll see. We'll wait and see.
Look,
I think he'll take like Anthony Scott type role. Be like, cool, I kick a goal once a game and then flop around for the rest.
I think a lot depends on if Lynch kicks a bag against Gold Coast. If Lynch kicks a bag against Gold Coast, then all of a sudden he could have a really low break even and all of a sudden could pop off. Because who does Richmond then play in round 2? How do I get to the next round? What's going on? Am I losing my mind? How do I get to round 2?
Scroll down. Oh, up the top. Oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah.
What the heck is going on? This is a weird website.
Reset.
Oh, Ben's got Carlton. All right, no, I don't think it's going to be Lynch. I think Lynch is 5. All right, Lynch is not making money quickly. I reckon Lynch is 5. I'll put 4 as Fife because I reckon Fife will play 1 or 2 good games and get injured.
Yeah.
He's classic Fife. 3.
I just think he'll get rested a bit too.
Or rested, but why would he get rested after 2 games?
No, you get rested in the game.
Fair enough. 3, I will put Billings on a wing. Not entirely sure that's the best scoring wise for. Plus, he plays for Goodwin, who's one of the worst coaches I've ever seen. 2, I'll put James Jordan because he's got an early buy. Oh, but so does Harms. I reckon I'll put Harms number 1. He doesn't have an early buy. Jordan number 2. Billings number 3. 5, 4, and Lynch 5.
Crazy how you put Harms like the best scorer out of all of them.
Because he could play on ball.
I don't think you've even got him in your team.
I do have him in my team.
You do?
He's right here. He's in my F2.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get you. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think Harms is every chance to play on ball, like just a midfield rotation. Whereas Jordan, I think I would have been a lot more confident on Jordan if not for them adding Taylor Adams to the side, I think. How are you getting Dacos, Joe? Asked Travis. That's a good question. How do I get Nick Dacos into my side at his buy? I think it might involve Gibcus. It might involve Z Williams.
Probably Chapman.
Or Chappie. Chappie, I reckon, could be involved in that. Maybe even a Billings.
What round does Carlton have? What buy round does Carlton have? That's the question.
Round 2.
Okay. So could you go like a Williams and a Chapman up, like just after Dacos's buy? You probably could, right? You'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I'd definitely use a boost without a doubt. I'd definitely be boosting up.
I mean, just both of those players. Like, if you assume both of them are going to end up being like 650k in total around that mark, like they've both made 100k by like 150k by round 6 or 7. I think you can definitely do it. One up, one down.
Yeah, I'm also banking on Roberts being a best 23 type of player and making me a lot of money very quickly as well. I'm not gonna. I think with the strategy, I have historically been a very patient trader of my rookies. I have really liked to get full value out of my rookies as much as I can. So I've been quite patient with those, and that has held me in good stead. But I think this year I'm going to be a bit more aggressive. As soon as they make me enough money, I'm going to pull the trigger and go. I think this year's really going to be a race who can upgrade their team the fastest. And I think come the buys, the second round of the buys, I think everyone who's kept up their upgrade cadence will have a fully finished team, I think, earlier than ever before.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think so as well.
Matthew, I have no fear starting LDU. If he goes down early, then I'll just trade him to someone I love with those stupid buys, like a Dacos, Walsh, or Green.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, right? As I say, start the risks. Don't bring in the risks if you can.
Cheese, do you think people are too high on Dersma, Big J?
Well, what's his ownership right now? Let's be tricky, right? Let's go midfield. Cool. So he's at 45% right now. I think that's too many. What positions are going to play? He's going to play forward, right? Traditionally, forwards don't score a huge amount, and he's already rated at a 35. So he's got to go 55 plus to even make you like 100k. He probably can do it. I just think there's better options there around the price. There's better options at the price. There's better options at like 60k cheaper. So who are you not going to? You're going to pick Sanders and McKercher, obviously. I think Dan Curtin probably outscores him. I think Reed and a Cadman and a Wilson and a few others outscore him. So I think people maybe are just placeholdering him right now, but that number's going to drop. He might be best 22 for the whole season, but I don't know if he's going to score that much.
Yeah, I agree. Like if you're going to pick a forward, you'd want to pick it from a team that's like challenging, that's going to get a lot of supply.
Just forwards in general, like guys who play predominantly forward don't score a lot in Supercoach, especially.
No, but if you're going to pick a forward, why not pick Cadman, who's 127k, who's got North Melbourne and West Coast in the first 2 weeks?
What do you mean? All our key defenders are going to stop him.
Amon could be a keeper, though, playing majority halfback. I just don't like it if he's playing wing, though, and sharing it with Weddle God. That report from the last match sim really has got me nervous. Doesn't necessarily mean that automatically Amon's going to lose that role. Mm-hmm. It's the ease with which Sam Mitchell could pull a trigger mid-game.
He's not just locked it down like a few of these other guys are. He's already starting to like play somewhere else, and it's 8 weeks before the season starts. So Doesn't look great.
Exactly. In 2025, Bevo might be gone to Frio. Could help.
Potentially. That's kind of what the story is going at the moment. I mean, Longmuir probably is gone anyway. So if Frio come out and don't score that great, they lose quite a few games. I don't think the Frio fans and the West Coast fans in general, like people over in Perth, are going to really stand for it like they would in Victoria. They want a lot more out of that club.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Globes, I've been thinking about players with a big market cap for the teams, meaning that they have bigger percentage of their team's total Supercoach points because the other players don't score that high. Example, Ablett. That's a very good pickup.
And that's something that like your Lockie Neal was like a few times ago. That's something like your LDU definitely was a few times ago as well. Or even this year. A lot of these people, a lot of these teams, if we go through the list, you can kind of gauge it from midfielders, right? Melbourne, Petrarca, and Oliver share a lot. Rory Laird and Dawson share a lot. But who's your next best player? Nick Dacos from Collingwood, like the best team in the league. They've got one player who averages that much. Like it's crazy. Even GWS, there's one player. Sydney, there's one player. Port's got a couple around the mark. You kind of have to, even like Zach Merritt type thing as well. So there's players at teams who naturally get a lot of the ball, hence they're really high scores. But you do, as you say, have to factor in other players around the mark. Sometimes there's just ball hogs, and they're the ones you really want to try and start or really consider as must bring in type players.
Yeah. Captain Flash 48, welcome aboard. Am I being stupid having 4+ rookies in forward? I had McRae, but did some shuffling and swapped him for Walsh. Any suggestions?
No, but you really just have to consider what good players are in there. So the problem with rookies is that they can get dropped, they can miss games, even the ones that maybe like a Finn McRae who's played a little while, because they haven't played consistent footy. There's times when they're going to get rested or just dropped because of form. Mid prices generally have a bit of a difference in that. Either they've had previous scoring, they've had injuries, or they've moved to a new team due to role or due to kind of opportunity. So those players have a bit more job security than your basic a rookie. So the forward line this is very sketch though. You can play 4, but who are your 2 premiums and why are you not playing mid prices? That's kind of my questions.
Yep, exactly. No, I agree. I think having more rookies. I mean, the rookies in the forward line aren't. I think
they're not super flash. Like that means you have 6 forward rookies in your team. Like it's a lot.
I mean, it's Cooper Simpson, Cadman, Wilson, McRae, Reed. I mean, Reed could end up being a keeper all year. All right, so let's So Reed is an exception. Finn McRae, decent sort of reports about him. Wilson, decent reports about him. Cadman could be exciting. Sean Manor could be exciting. Cooper Simpson. But having them all on field, though, is a bit scary, I think. Because people like Harms and Billings and even a Fife, perhaps, or a Lynch, these guys are experienced players. They're seasoned campaigners. They sort of could genuinely pop off. And be outscoring you every single position in the forward line by 20 odd points, which means you could be down, 80 to 100 points in the forward line.
It's going to be a fun one.
May have answered this, but Witherden, thoughts on Witherden?
I think we talked about him in our last live stream. When Hearn's not playing, Witherden doesn't score enough points. Other people take the kick-ins, other people take the rolls. It's not like a straight swap, maybe what it would have been a couple of years ago when Witherden got brought to the club as being kind of the next hope in that back line. Other people are definitely taking a bit of his score, and it doesn't look great. I think he only averaged like an 80 odd with Hearn not in the team. It's a no for me, especially at 470k. Like it's too expensive.
Yep, agreed. Causa, I can only have 5, can't get 6 mids. Depends on where you're spending your money. Do you have an extra premium in the back line? Are you paying up for an extra premium in the forward line for McRae? I mean, it's like it's not a big deal if you can't get 6 mids because you've been paying up for a mid elsewhere.
As long as you can have between 12 and 13 premiums and a few mid prices and not terrible buy structure, I think you'll be okay.
Yep, exactly. Libba being 31, a big reason why I'm fading Magnus.
Yeah.
Luke, thoughts on Smith out for doggies? Will Libba take more points, or will someone else get a better role?
I think guys like Bailey Dale will come back to that ring role that he did quite well in. I think Sanders comes in and plays a bit of that role as well. It didn't feel right. Bailey Smith taking that, not Bailey Scott, Bailey Smith kind of taking that role at the Dogs last year. So I think they're probably going to play around with that a little bit as well. And maybe an Ed Richards, as Joe says. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a few people. I don't know if someone's going to come in and straight take the points, but they're going to share around like the role's worth of points as well. And Smith didn't exactly come out and like score 180 points or anything like that. Like his average last year wasn't great.
Correct. God, I predicted Coldplay coming to Melbourne. People said I was crazy. I had to tell them I was God. You tell him. You tell him, God. Luke, Matt Rao should be Hardwick's biggest priority. Could Rao get back 130s before his bye?
Yep. Well, apparently he's picking up a running coach at the moment, so it's looking like that might definitely happen. It's what they need. They need someone who has his skills but lacks the endurance. That's what they've got at the moment. So bringing up his fitness is a real big priority, and it's something that will definitely help Gold Coast kind of manage Rao's potential injuries as well. If you're not fit and you try and bust your ass in a game, that's when the injuries come. If he's got the tank and the preseason tank and the running from that, I think it's going to be quite good for him.
Jeez, I don't know what's happening with this Gold Coast website.
Maybe your internet's no good, Joe.
Can't even load a bloody web page. That's terrible. All that money from the AFL can't even get a good web page going. Captain Flash, what players would you suggest for sub 600k in any position? It's got to be young.
Well, we know Hayden Young, and maybe we'll do a video on this, Joe. Hayden Young in the back line. I think there's a couple of other players who might be around the mark as well. Looking back line, we have talked about Sinclair a little bit. We've talked about Houston, potentially a Harry Sheasel or a Ridley, depending on role. I mean, we'll have to wait for preseason games. Maybe a Lockie Whitfield if you're really stretched for some cash. Who else in the midfield, Joe?
Did you mention Sam Walsh?
No, I haven't started the mids.
Oh, okay, so there's Sam Walsh. He's sub 500. He's sub 600. I think Josh Kelly could go bananas early. He's got a great early fixture against North and West Coast. North have a great contested ball side, but the outside could be something that Josh Kelly exploits, as well as hitting the scoreboard. He's certainly very capable. So you could go at Cogs, but I think Kelly has the better ceiling. In the midfield, who else? I mean, there's John Newcomb, but I'm not a big fan. Tutu Miller as well. Yeah. Or even if you want, and you're really keeping a close eye on St Kilda, and you genuinely believe that we could see a bump up in Jack Steele, who I know Big J is not a big fan of after what happened to him last year. But there you go, Hector Glover, Habibi! Jack Steele to go 110 plus. Get around him, mates. He's called it.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. Obviously, rucks, we know are Gorn and Grundy, so there's no big issues there. The forward line's an interesting one. I'm really waiting to see on preseason games and see what happens. There could be some value in that kind of sub 500k mark, but I know Joe's doing it at the moment. I've seen people that don't even have a 500k player in that forward line. Like it's bonkers at the moment. So yeah, big wait and see for a lot of teams, I think.
Honestly reckon there's no forward premiums in the forward. I reckon you could just start Flanders and that's it. Honestly, I'm not.
I think a lot of teams are going to do that.
That's what I'm doing. So yeah.
Round zero exists so the AFL can convince Carlton and Richmond supporters they're still open. Yeah, almost. You saw the hissy fit what happened a couple of years ago when Brisbane and someone else. Was it Brisbane or was it Geelong? No, Melbourne and the Doggies. Maybe a Melbourne GWS. The one year that they had the premiership team doing round one instead of Carlton Richmond.
Yes. They had the rematch between Melbourne and the Bulldogs, I think.
Yeah. Does anyone know what positions Braden Campbell and Bailey Humphrey are likely to play? I'm not quite sure. That doesn't look like at the moment there's a lot of talk coming out of Gold Coast, and I think that's pretty much like the way that they're fixing things up at the moment.
Yeah, nothing to say. Nothing here. It loaded. Yeah. Nothing to see here. The Suns don't have any fans to report on these things, unfortunately. Man. I don't know. I think Bailey Humphrey is going to be a good player. There's no doubt about it. But we're going to have to really keep a close eye on round 0 as well as the preseason games with the Suns. Really, they are an anomaly at the moment, and we've spoken about them ad nauseum in terms of just how significant they're going to be in terms of their players and whether or not they're valid options or not. Mm-hmm. We're just going to have to keep a close eye on them, flag pies, to be completely honest with you. B. James, I think with some more stability from Saints' bigger forwards and hopefully being healthy with midnight forwards, mid-sized forwards like Owens, etc., I don't think they drafted the Pooh to be a forward flanker.
It just feels like, yeah, it just feels like at the moment that they've brought in a couple of other players to come and fill the position that, like, where's Philippou supposed to be getting the points from and getting the mid-time from? Similar to like a North Melbourne and Tom Powell. It's like, cool, Powell's going to be 80% mid. And it's like, well, who's he going to take points from? It's not like Jack Steele's getting rotated or someone's majorly injured at that club. So it just doesn't fit.
Yeah. I mean, and his career is not finishing tomorrow, B. James. He's still got a long career ahead of him. They can take their time. Yeah, they can take their time developing him before chucking him in there when they've got already some big boys in Crouch and Steele, right? So, Michael, imagine if the AFL fixtured the Dogs and Geelong. Even with a free look, we would still be none the wiser with what Bevo and Scott are doing in their teams. Correct.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful, weird one. Let's have a look. Yeah, a few other people saying they had Flanders and McRae, and now they've only got Flanders. Similar thing. Ian's saying here Jackson's coming in to cover the Melbourne-Sydney bye. Yeah, it's not a bad pick. It really depends for me on Sean Darcy as well, kind of what happens with his body. He could be a real steal, Luke Jackson, at his price. Probably doesn't go up that much in scoring, but fantastic cover for Gawn and Grundy and some other players there.
Yeah, well, I did a player spotlight for him, Ian. If you haven't watched that, check the channel. I have done that one. Che's not interested in James Jordan, Joe. I'm interested in him. I think he's a very good player, and I think it was a very good pickup for the Swans to select him. I just don't have him in my side at the moment because he's got the early bye, and I'm not entirely sure he plays bulk minutes in the middle. I think because I would have been a lot more confident if they didn't have the recent addition of Taylor Adams in there as well to go with already the pre-existing players that did so well for them last year. There's just a lot of competition for spots over there, and I want to sort of see a bit more before I jump on the horse, so to speak, with Horst Longmire sort of dictating play over there. So I'm just hedging my bets a little bit before selecting him, Cheese.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Sheldrick, we've got Adams coming in, we've got a few of these other players as well. So really just comes down to round 0 and saying, hey, look, which one's the best 22? I think James Jordan will be. They haven't brought him in to play VFL, but it's how much scoring actually gets. Because you don't think Goulden and anyone else are really going to drop points.
No, of course
not. Last year was the real year when the points were available, and we saw Goulden and Warner and a few of the other guys take those points away from the pool, whereas now other players coming in all kind of have to share what's available.
Yeah, I just think James Jordan's going to feature a bit on the wing using his outside ability and his good kick. I honestly think James Jordan's going to end up playing quite a bit on a wing still for the Swans. I know that's probably not what he wanted.
For the middle, but maybe not as much.
But not as much as he would have hoped initially. Yeah. Thoughts on Merritt? Should I go with him, or is he a bit too expensive, and should I go for someone a bit cheaper?
Well, you give us the Merritt talk, Joe.
I've done the Merritt talk a few times, Cap and Flash. You might be new around here. It's my first time reading your comments. But I have been big on getting Zach Merritt in after round 7 when our fixture really starts to open up. He's someone who is very fairly priced. I think he's going to be a top 8 midfielder. He is a gun in the competition, and if he's tagged, he can still be moved around and still have an impact. He's a great tackler, etc., etc. So I think Merritt is someone that you can fade for now and upgrade to him during the season. He always drops in price. It used to be around his buy, and then you would pick him up. But ever since he's become captain of the club, he's been hitting his straps a lot sooner in the season as opposed to later on. And I think getting him after round 7 is the perfect time to get on him. Go someone a little bit cheaper is the suggestion.
It's pretty crazy, though. You think about a team like yours. Let's pull up your team at the moment, Joe, before we kind of go to the next question. Sorry for kind of putting you on the...
What, my actual Supercoach team or the Essendon Football Club?
No, like your Supercoach team. Imagine by round 7, you had an almost completed midfield by round 7. How bonkers is that? Like, that would have never happened in previous years of Supercoach, but that's kind of what we're predicting at the moment. Like, throw another Nick Dacos in the back line and then, potentially swap out a McKercher with someone else because you think, hey, he's going to get DPP starting half back all the time. Almost finished midfield by round 7. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, sort of hoping that these last 2 spots could be like a Tom Green and a Zach Merritt.
Well, Merritt, yeah, he'd be pretty happy with that midfield with those 2 players.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's sort of how I'm hoping to structure it up, and that's why I'm not really contemplating any of the sideways primo flips like Tom Green to Sam Walsh, for example, on his buy. Like I don't want to do that. I just want to select the best players I can and then finish it off with 2 people who I think are going to be top 8. So,
and I think the back line as well is really going to be something like there's not going to be too many good DPP backline players that we're going to see. Maybe a Dawson if he comes in and changes it. So it really comes down to finish everywhere else and then finish the forward line, depending on who we get. There's no pressure to finish the forward line at the moment.
Correct, because I don't think there's going to be any genuine primo scoring in the forward line, so I don't consider it to be. Huh?
We'll talk about it with DR on our predictions video. Cheese, watch out. We'll talk about it with DR in our prediction video. But can you give me a thought on potentially this year being the lowest, one of the lowest scoring years in Supercoach? Because we're stuck a lot with these mid prices to start with. We don't have a lot of really good premiums outside of like the midfield this
year. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like our F6 for the season's averaging 80 points. Like,
yeah, pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Luke, which teams will have the best start to 2024? So this is a general football type of question.
Well, if it was North Melbourne last year, we could say I think we were 5th on the ladder after round 2, and then we lost 20 games in a row. So, yeah.
I reckon the Giants, they got you and West Coast before their bye, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, there's quite a few teams I think that are going to do okay. I think Freo is one of those ones that isn't, but I'm not quite without pulling up like a actual fixtures list and kind of going through it. It's going to be a bit of a tricky one.
Any hints on other videos? Yeah,
mate,
as
Big
J said, mate. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. I literally made this just before the thing. Now I want you to have a look at this very briefly. You're probably going to have no idea what this means, but I'll just leave it at that. I'm really excited about this little pet project I'm working.
We'll have all our Supercoach team reviews coming out. So we've been doing at the moment a lot of just general AFL team reviews. So we'll get a fan or a Supercoach person, whatever, from their team to come on the show. And, we've had Sweez, we've had JD, a few of these other guys. Because us players, we love talking about our teams, right? So we'll have a few more of those coming. We'll have our normal Supercoach chats, basically a live stream every week. So much more content. Coming up towards the actual preseason games, we're going to go into our Supercoach players to watch throughout those preseason teams through those preseason games from each of the teams, mid-pricer, primo, rookie, that kind of thing. Probably another, 60-odd videos plus to come out in the next 44 days. So much to come. Maybe more. Maybe we'll go for 80 videos in 40 days just to kind of trip everyone out. We'll see what happens. But at the moment, if you guys are watching at the moment, we're just doing our kind of power rankings, you would call it at the moment. So we've done the back line. Tomorrow is the midfield. And then we're going to have forward line and rucks as well, alongside some other content. So, yeah, stay tuned for those. Basically something every day, which has been really good for us over the preseason. And hopefully you guys have liked it.
Caleb Daniel flying under the radar. Maybe we can start 3 primo forwards.
I don't think so. See, the only problem is, are you going to start Caleb Daniel or start Hayden Young? Are you going to start Caleb Daniel or another midfielder? I just don't think the scoring's there. What do you expect, Luke? Let me know in the comments. What do you expect Caleb Daniel to score? Because if he's only scoring 100, he's not worth it to start. Caleb Daniel would need to come out and score like a 115 for me to pick him in that forward line. Because that's what you expect from a Flanders, right? You expect premium level scoring for that price. You expect that out of a Hayden Young and these other guys. Otherwise, you're not really going to get a lot out of him. He's not worth it. At the moment, he's not even ranked at like 95 points for that price. Like you'd rather just upgrade into it and then use the cash gen and get those good mid prices in that forward position.
Yeah, I'm in no rush to finish the forward line this year. There is genuinely no issue. The uber premium scorers won't be scoring that incredibly high at this point of the season. That's what it looks like. So if Caleb Daniel is going to be that, then no worries. We're very happy to trade him in during the season if we can be sure that he's going to be playing off halfback as a distributor. But at the meantime, I don't want to waste that much money when I know I could use that money a lot more wisely elsewhere.
And the thing is as well, if you start Caleb Daniel at that price, you're probably expecting that level of scoring. And then you're resounding yourself to have that level of scoring as a forward player. Because no one really likes to sideways their premiums, right? So I'd rather start someone who's more expensive who's going to score it versus like, I hope someone better comes along and I have to spend a trade to upgrade Caleb Daniel. Like, yeah.
Okay. Jen, Green or Walsh to get my 5th mid primo, and thoughts on Sean Manor. I think Sean Manor is probably one of the good rookies to have because he's 26 years old. They haven't brought him in from the VFL to play VFL. Like he's clearly going to play. He's an exciting, dynamic half small forward. He kicked many goals. He was one of the stars of the competition. So I think he'll definitely feature. Definitely get him in there. Thoughts on Green or Walsh, Big J?
It's a tricky one. I think Walsh, I don't know. The scoring could be there for the price, but I think Green is in the top 10. So I don't know if Walsh kind of makes it in that position as well. So the buy rounds don't matter as much for me. I think actually from our teams, Walsh in terms of buy rounds actually has a better one because how many of Brisbane players are actually starting in our team, right? So if you start Walsh, the early buy round is probably more favourable than a Green because if you look at your team, let's say Walsh was in there instead of like an LDU or someone. You've got Buderick out and then you've got Flanders out. So if you've got Tom Green, it's probably not great because there's 3 premiums or 3 guys on field versus a Walsh that's kind of cool. Zach Williams and Walsh and that's it. So in that sense, it's not so bad. But I think overall in scoring, Tom Green just keeps getting better and better. I think he's going to go up to another level, and I'm expecting a 115. Those scores that we know he can pump out are fantastic, and I think he's going to even out a lot more of the lower scores this year. So his ceiling is going to rise. His floor, his 100% rise, not any ceilings. The same.
Yeah. Sam Walsh for me is one that. He's done it before. Yeah, both of them have done it before. But Sam Walsh for me is also someone that I sort of want to, because Carlton is stacked, right? Especially in that engine room, they've got heaps of great players in the midfield. I just worry that occasionally Carlton might find that they will use Walsh's running ability and his line breaking capacity on a wing, and not be used exclusively in the midfield. So, because they've got so many players to go through there, but players like Cripps, for example, and George Hewitt, and these guys are the contested in and under type of players. They're not going to play any other position, but they might want to get Akers through there. They might want to get Chera through there. They might want to get Doherty through there. They might want to get Walsh through there. But there's a bunch of cooks in that midfield kitchen over there at Carlton, and I just have more trust that Green's role will never change and that he will always be a really high CBA getter, whereas someone like Walsh could occasionally feature on a half-forward flank like what we've seen here, for example, which he's been used a number of times, as we can see here. So even as a forward pocket as well, so Walsh's role is prone to change, whereas I think because he's so good, he can play different roles. Whereas Tom Green, I think, is that contested ball specialist that will always have that role, which is so great for Supercoach scoring. I'd lean towards Green.
He's like GWS's liver, right? He can't play anywhere else, so he plays mid and does very well.
Correct.
And he only plays mid because he can't play anywhere else.
Exactly. Velo, would you take Harms, Caddy, Elijah Hewitt, Cully, or Fantasia as final forward? It's probably Harms, right?
Yeah. Harms, Caddy. Yeah, probably Harms. I think Fantasia is going to freak out a few people and have a couple of big games, but then fall backwards. So preseason right now, Harms seems to be an okay pick and doesn't play early buy rounds. It is what it is.
Luke, what do you think about flipping Kelly or Rowell to Sam Walsh in round 3?
No thanks.
I'm not a fan. I don't like using trades for just pure luxury. I don't think it's worth it. I think if you genuinely believe Sam Walsh is going to be a top 8, just start him and not waste the trade. I know there's 40 trades, which is more than we've ever had before. But we had more trades last year than we ever had before last year, and we still ran out of trades. So there's always going to be something wrong. There's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be plans falling through. I just don't want to plan ahead and make sure that I'm intending on using a trade in a particular round when there could be other things like rookie corrections that I have to make. So, yeah. Plus, you're going to miss out on Kelly's incredible price rise because Kelly's got 2 great games, goes on his bye. You trade him out before he then rockets up in price again. You're missing out on the value that could be had from starting a guy like Kelly.
Yeah. And the big thing is as well is just last year, a lot of us, Joe included, me included, didn't have any trades like 5 rounds to go. We've burnt some trains throughout the season, so hopefully we can get that management a little bit under control. But thinking that, hey, you're going to start the season and start all these flips and all these kind of things, you're not going to end up with more premiums than the people that just had the good premiums to start with. So don't come out and hope to go and spend these trades early and then be like, oh, sorry, well, it's round 20. I've got 4 weeks left, got 2 injured premiums and no trades. Well, that's because you traded Walsh to Kelly and Rowell and all these guys in round 3 when you could have just started someone else. So, yeah, that's kind of my views on it at the moment. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like Joe has Petrarca, right? It's fine to have Petrarca. No worries. Just don't think about trading Petrarca in and out.
No.
Or picking him in round 3, picking him now, and then 2 weeks later, you're not going to have him. Like, the minimum amount of cash is not worth the trades you're spending, especially in the second half of the season.
Exactly. And maybe not for Supercoach, but a sneaky rising star pick, Brendan George.
Yep. No, I think so as well, Ian. It's more just about where he plays. Our best 22 is not great, but positional-wise, it's actually quite hard to break in because unless you're like a ruckman or a really good key defender or a really good key forward, there's a lot of competitions for spots, right? Like there's probably 8 or 9 good medium-sized defenders that Braden Jaws is going to have to try and fight a spot for. Similar in the forward line, there's probably 5 to 6 that he has to push out, and he hasn't played any games, and he's coming off big injuries. I don't know if he's going to start. He's a fantastic kid, really good attributes, everything perfect, right? But he's got to push someone out of a current spot.
Yeah, I'm still definitely leaning towards Harley Reid, number 1 draft pick. Every time he touches or sneezes or breathes.
If Wardlaw is fit, Wardlaw wins. That's it. Wardlaw is a freak, man. He's going to push like 10-year veterans out of the way for the ball this year, if he's fit for the whole season. But
I'm glad you finished that. If he's fit.
Of course, if anyone's fit, if people are injured, they can't win the Rising Star, can they?
Big if. Captain, I'm a newie fan of the channel last week. Welcome aboard, Captain. Glad to have you on the channel, my friend. Jen, do you think LD will have a better year than last year? Yes, Jen.
Yes,
if I didn't think so,
because he'll be fit.
He'll be fit, but if I didn't think he'd be better, I wouldn't have started him, Jen. That's. I'm only hoping he'll get better. Yes.
Yeah.
Cheese, you guys have been killing it with the vids. Much appreciated, Cheese, mate. We're doing the hard work, so you don't have to.
Well, that's it, right? We go through and I'm going to say it now. Whenever you guys want a topic that you want to see, we'll take note of it, right? You guys can put it in the chat, put it in a comment of a video. 45 people watching would love 45 comments on this channel and on this video at the end of this. Say, hey, look, I'm interested in this. What do you think? What not? We'll put it in our big table and we'll start pumping out more content for that. We've got a list of things that, hey, look, we want to talk about and ideas and whatnot, but you guys are going to watch what you ask for. So always put in the comments what you want. Give us a shout out, Twitter, whatever. Done.
There you go. That's my projected there, guide, just for you, my friend. Okay, what else have we got? Caleb Daniel could be stealing his mass, can be massive if he's playing halfback though. That's the question, Luke.
Yeah.
And if he stays in that role, Bevo will just blindfold himself and throw the names on the whiteboard, and there you go. There's your game plan for a week.
It'll be interesting to see what the timeline was when Caleb Daniel was really good, and some other players coming to that Dogs back line. Remember when like an Ed Richards finally started to come on? Really felt like Caleb Daniel started to lose a lot of those kick-out transition type ball. So it'd be good to kind of work that out and be like, cool, at this point in time, when these select players were in these years, Caleb Daniel started to fall off. Because they basically have to play him in other positions because he can't play halfback anymore because other people are taking those spots. Like, that's what it comes down to.
Exactly. John, thoughts on starting Owens and Rochelle in the forward line? Rochelle, I'm not a big fan of. Owens, look, he's gotten bigger. It comes down to role. Yeah.
You're picking him to become a keeper, right? You're not picking him as a cash cow. So if he comes out preseason, scores 110, shows exactly what he showed at the start of the season last year, maybe go for it. He could be the sneaky pick that ends up $550K for the whole season. But it's really something to watch there.
White Six Primos, Zoravar Randawa. Nice of you to join us, Mr. Husky. White Six Primos in the midfield. I feel like it will be tough to get money in the midfield and then get more Primos in the back or forward. I think that Zoravar, I don't need a lot of money to finish my forward line because I don't think there's going to be big Primo scores coming out of the forward line. And if there are no big Primo scores, it means there's no big Primo price tags either. So I anticipate that filling out the forward line is not going to be of major concern. And I've got a couple of mid-prices in the back line who I think can make me decent coin in Buderick and Chapman. Chapman, who's going to be playing halfback and a wing, and Buderick, who's going to be playing the Jaden Short role. I know it's not guaranteed now. We're still we're still January, whether or not Bud Brick is going to be in my final team or not, says Global.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens there. But if he plays the Jaden Short role, then I think he could very well average a decent amount of around 90. He's currently priced at 300K, which means that he's at 77. If he can go around 90, he can make me close to 100,000, which then I can then use to sort of try and upgrade to a player in the back line. So it's, waiting and seeing. But I think getting all the big primos in the midfield just means that I'm going to be getting that's going to be my point of difference between me and other teams. I'm going to have some consistent captaincy scores and some big scores on a regular basis. I want at least 100 points from every player in my midfield, which will hold me in good stead in other places where I'll have decent scoring.
Yeah, it really comes down to two things, right? You start off, you build your team with the available rookies. Cool. We look at the midfield. There isn't that many good rookies. And there isn't that many good rookies who would really consider fielding. We go from there and we start saying, cool, when that happens, what can we do to adapt to those situations? Because cash gen is king. We've got to go from $10 million up to, let's say, what? I've seen some teams with 14. I saw someone the other day with $15 million last year, and he ended up in like top 10. So if that's what it's needed to be able to do it, that's what we need to be able to do it. So get the players you can start the most expensive ones, the locks you want to have for the whole season, upgrade into the rest. If I can come into the season and say, cool, I've got my 6 out of my top 10, 6 out of my top 8 best players that I want to play to start with, I'm happy. Like, cool. And they're all 650K mids, so I don't need to spend 3 trades. I don't need to spend a boost. Right now, looking at Joe's team, right, he's got to spend 2 boosts for the midfield, and that's it. Remember last year and the years before where we had to have like 4 premium mids, potentially your 5th one was a mid-pricer? That was 4 automatic boosts we had to spend in our teams. Now Joe only has to spend 2. There's not going to be forward line players who are going to be 650K, so it's generally 550K, which is what? 2 300K players? It's 2 rookies to get a premium in the forward line. Similar in the back line. Maybe something a little bit more expensive, but not boost worthy. And that's what you guys have to try and work out with the cash economy and the trade economy.
Exactly. Cheese, is there anything you boys are hoping to avoid that you made the mistake of doing last year?
Sideways trading and picking the wrong mid prices.
That's exactly what it is. And I think I've spoken to, obviously, Big J, and I've also spoken to our good friend Dia about, yes, this team does have a few mid prices in it, but one thing that I'm doing differently this year than I did last year is making sure that the mid prices are not in the midfield where if you get it wrong, you can get burnt really badly, as opposed to doing it in the forward line where we don't expect a lot of great scores. So I don't mind going mid-price heavy in the forward line because I don't anticipate getting burnt. The risk isn't high. Whereas if I had the mid-prices in the midfield, where if I had a mid-pricer like Tanner Bruin, for example, off the top of my head like last year, and someone else had an Andy Brayshaw at that spot in the midfield, I'd be getting toasted every week. So, and that's exactly what happened last year. So I'm avoiding going too mid-price heavy in the risky positions, like in the midfield, where every position is very precious to us.
Yeah, and like I say, it's much better to be able to lock in those players than having to try and upgrade them in later on.
Yeah,
even if they drop cash, cash, like better to do it.
Exactly. LGU and Walsh, or someone else or Walsh?
Someone else at that price? LDU's not bad at that price. If you don't have a Zach Butters, probably pick him because LDU has the second best buy round at the end instead of the best one. But yes, it's not bad. If LDU's fit, you're expecting a 110 easy every week. So that's what you pay for.
Exactly. Damn, nearly 2 hours, bruv. We've gone, almost 2 hours. We're doing the hard work, so you don't have to, mate. That's what we do.
We every Monday so far, these live streams, people jump on, we have a good chat and talk footy. So pretty happy with that.
Absolutely.
We will be finishing up soon, guys. It is getting a little bit late.
Like a couple of minutes and we're done, basically. Probably. Matthew, doing one sideways trade, track today costs, then gonna get tracked in later, unless Clates come back and ruins track a bit. Well, that's your tactic, but I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I really don't know about that. Day cost potentially loses money, track potentially loses money. I'd rather keep track because he goes, let's say Oliver, right? Track without Oliver is like 120 something. Track with Oliver is still a 115 plus and has that big ceiling. So you're not losing anything by keeping Petrarca. You have 1 week where a Jeremy Sharp or someone comes in and potentially scores, 100 and you lose 20 points for having a bye, which really doesn't hurt. But you're now spending trades to go to Dacos, who's going to lose money or keep money, and it's too much hassle. Keep track, upgrade Dacos after Dacos's buy. What's Dacos's buy, Joe? Is it like 5 or 6?
It is in round. Where is it? I got it here. It is in round 5.
Cool. So Dacos round 5. Round 6 is when we start our upgrades. You can make enough money at that point, especially if you've got some round 0 players there. Like you could legitimately go Billings and someone else to Dacos and then keep it there. So it's really not worth it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with it. Team is looking sexy, Joe. Cheers, God. Just restructured for the 6th Premier Mid. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you, my friend.
Yeah.
Velo, going on Dimmer's previous record, I can see Flanders' role change week to week, and I'm not going to pick him up. Look, if that's going to be the case, Velo, go for it, Jez.
No. It potentially, but Dimmer's gone to that club to win finals. He's gone to that club to take him to the finals to win games. He knows how good Flanders is in the middle. He's not going to be like, cool, I've come in Flanders, now you're going to play somewhere else. Like, he legitimately wants to take them and win their first finals this year. Probably not the grand final, but win their first set of finals this year. Dimmer is not going to dick around like he did with a Richmond who won 3 seasons in a row, or close enough to 3 seasons in a row, and then like just fumble because all their players started leaving or getting, retiring, whatever. He has a good crop of players. He knows where guys are going to play.
Yeah, and if he does that, then I don't mind dropping a Flanders down to like a James Jordan, for example, or even a Nat Fyfe, perhaps. Whoever's looking really good, I can drop Flanders down to somebody, and then I can maybe put the money onto a Budarick and get him to another premium, and then I'll have 3 Uber Primos in the back line. So there's flexibility there, Velo.
Of course.
Can't wait to bring in my favorite player, Big Jezza, in my team later on.
We'll see what happens.
Big Dave time, how's it going? Hi, lads. Great chat. Joe, can we back your boy Nick Martin, play-state halfback? He can be, if he has that role. I think he's a gun. He's a pig. The only thing is, of course, he's never played that role before, so we're going to have to keep a really close eye on it during the preseason and in the practice games as well. We have 2 practice games, which I'm going to be watching like an absolute hawk, but I am confident that he can be a top 10 halfback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Correct. So it's an interesting one, right? Because if you look at Joe's midfield, there's some wiggle room at M6 with a Brayshaw to go and Nick Martin, because you're picking up Nick Martin for the DPP. That's the only reason why. There is a little bit of wiggle room there, but that means you have to go and bring another person in. You would not go in and be like, cool, I'm going to run 4 premiums in the midfield and then Nick Martin. Like, you just can't. So, yeah, something to watch out for there. A bit of restructuring could happen. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Are you guys making the Dan Curtin call? We are making the Dan Curtin call.
Not yet. Not yet. We'll see.
No, our curtains call. Our curtain call. We're going to call it a night. I think there's a play on words. Very clever, B. James. I like that.
I did not pick that up.
Can you rank all the teams by round, or do you have a video? We haven't done a video. We can do one.
Now that you've done that, we 100% can do that.
Absolutely.
That is not an issue. And you know what we might put in that video as well, Captain Flash, is the players who we're going to look out for in each of the bye rounds as well. So we'll rank them and be like, cool, we're going to look after these players. Bit of a double whammy episode for you there. Thanks for the suggestion.
Exactly.
Keep it up.
Keep it up, my friend. Flag players, do you reckon it is worth having 4 premiums in defence if it will result in Flanders being my only premium in the forward line? I reckon it is perfectly acceptable.
Depends what your midfield is, really. If your midfield has like 4 premiums, probably not, because there's a lot of good mid-price of value and a lot of good rookie value as well. Joe at the moment is missing out on quite a few really good rookies. So if he's got to go and imagine Joe's team with 4 defenders in that back line, he's missing out on like Chapman, Budarick, Williams potentially, and then your O'Sullivans, and then all these other guys, and then all these other rookies. So it's a toss-up between the most. You got to pick your value. But going 4 heavy was fantastic last year and the year before, because we just didn't have all the mid-prices coming through. Or we had a couple and you would go as deep as like D6 with like a Liam Jones or a Buckley or someone. This year, there's enough good rookies that you don't have to, and a lot of lower, cheaper rookies as well. Zach Reed coming off injury, Caulfield coming off, Gibcus, Williams, Toby Pink, heck, a few others as well. So, yeah, you don't want to miss out on these guys that are potentially making you, 250 to 300K pretty easily.
Thoughts on Luke Ryan, Borat, very nice. Luke Ryan is a very nice. He is number 4 key intercept defender in all of Australia. Very nice.
Last talk for today.
Yes, absolutely, Jen. Well done. You are lucky last. Finbar Malley as R3 or Go Sweet. I think from the reports, Jordan Sweet is firming to be the number one ruck over there at Port. So I say Go Sweet.
And that's where you don't be cheeky and go Sweet at R2. R3 is okay for Sweet. Like, don't be too cheeky. There's enough value there that you're not paying 700K for ruckman. Just be sensible.
Well, we were.
All right.
You're very welcome, Sean. Thanks so much, guys, for coming on. It has been a long stream now. It's been over 2 hours. Hope you all had a lovely time. If you haven't already, would be much appreciated if by a simple token, just pressing the like button on the stream goes a long way for the algorithm. It's very simple for you, but for us, it means a lot. It means that we pop up on other people's feeds, and it means that we are more likely to show up, and we can increase the size of our wonderful community here.
It looks like at the moment, guys, as well, over the preseason, we're going to try and keep Monday nights as Supercoach stream night. So stay tuned for those. Monday, 7:30. Just down the bottom, we've got our Supercoach League as well. We've only got about 160 people that have joined. All you need to do is join the league, jump on Facebook, like our page. It's up the top or in the video. And then you're entering into the running. What's on offer, Joe?
Mate, we've got $20 AFL voucher for those who get the highest score. $20 voucher, sorry, is the booby prize, just the lottery. If you got the highest score for any particular week in the entire season, you get 2 general admin tickets to a game of your choice. And then on the big win, the highest ranked player, you get the piece de resistance, the creme de la creme. It is the jersey with the number of your choice on the back. So a lot of very exciting prizes to be won.
Done. All right, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. We've got some more videos come out. Stay tuned for our mid-pricer power rankings tomorrow, and then we'll have a few other videos coming out soon.
Yes, Max, that is our public league. So if you put in the code, you are going to be welcome in with open arms.
Yep.
Good night, everyone. Hope you have a good one, and we'll see you all.
Catch you guys. Bye.
Bye.